中のものが滑り落ちるよう十分お気をつけください。引き続き皆様に本日の機内サービスについてご案内いたします。次止まります。
The idea was to spend 3 weeks in Japan with 3 different prime lenses, 18, 33 and 56, the newer versions, the 1.4 or 1.2 for the 56. But it didn't work out. After 1 or 2 days in Japan, I realized I needed a zoom lens, so I walked into BIC Camera, pick it up, tested it actually, put it on my XH2 and left it there mounted for the rest of the trip. So what you're about to see has been all shot with this camera, and we were going to be talking about, is it better than the kit lens? How does it compare actually to this other little piece of lens, a tank of the lens, and how does it feel to use and what kind of images does it produce? Just a heads up before we start, every image that you will see here has been edited. These are not the images straight out of the camera. So keep that in mind, the edits might be too aggressive for you, too radical, too hardcore. I will be very honest, I had no intentions of buying this lens. I was very skeptical. I levitate towards prime lenses, so I really didn't want to buy another zoom lens. I already have the 16 to 55 here, which I use mostly for work because it's so heavy and big. But the truth is that since I had no clue of the area and I didn't know what I was about to encounter in the streets, I realized I needed a zoom with me. I just didn't want to bring all 3 lenses every single day with me in the backpack because I did not want to have my backpack around me every single day with that heat and that humidity of Japan in summer. So I kept wondering, how did Sigma manage to keep the size so small and at the same time the aperture of 2.8? Again, even though I read almost all the reviews available, watch as many video reviews as I could, I was still very skeptical about the image quality of this lens. So let's start with the positives, build quality and size. As you know, as you may realize or you've read in the internet, it's made out of plastic, but a very high quality plastic. It really doesn't feel bad, like a low quality lens bought somewhere weird. It feels, I wouldn't say like a premium lens like this other, but it feels good. And the rubber they used on the zoom ring, that feels really good, even better than some of the Fuji lenses. Another touch that I like a lot is how smooth you can zoom in and out. It's not the kind of lens that would go back to its place just because of the weight of the crystal inside. It has that resistance and it's really, really, really nice to the touch. Then there is the size and weight. If you check it out next to the 16 to 55, you can see there is a tiny lens. It's more or less, I would say, almost exactly as big as the Fuji kit lens. And when it comes to weight, it's officially, I just checked in the website, it's officially 285 grams for Fuji mount. And I'm about to check it. I have my scale here. So let me turn it on. And I'm really curious now. It's even less. It's 283. So when you compare that to the Fuji lens that we have here, which is 656, you are saving a lot of weight here. You're even saving weight comparison with the kit lens, which is a little bit more, 230 or something like that. And when it comes to size again, it's absolutely tiny. When I saw it, knowing that it's a 2.8 lens, if I wouldn't know that it's a APS-C sensor oriented lens, I would have said that it's a macro four thirds. It's tiny. Still, even now today, after 3 weeks using it, I can still believe that this is a 2.8 zoom. One more reason to get this lens is the minimal focus distance. I didn't know about it, didn't read about it, I didn't see it anywhere, but when I was using it, I was in one of these fabulous Japanese gardens that look absolutely unreal, like a video game, like an Unreal game. I was getting closer and closer to the ground because I wanted to take a photo of the grass, and I kept getting closer and closer and closer and closer until I was in a moment that I couldn't believe how close I was. I was almost touching the ground. And I checked later on the internet on Sigma's website, and apparently the distance is 12 centimeters. It really reminds me of other lenses like the Fuji 18mm 1.4, which is the one I'm using right now to film. And it gives you a little bit more play, something to play with when you are on trips, on vacation. You know, you have a lens, it may be very useful, but sometimes you miss that separation, that bokeh. And being able to get that close gives you that extra bit of fun when, again, you're taking holiday photos. One more thing, although Sigma doesn't say anything in the website about it, is the weather sealing. I guess it's not sealed because otherwise Sigma would say and be very proud of it, but it does have a rubber gasket at the mount to keep water from filtering to the camera inside. And as far as I know, as far as my experience goes, it has worked perfectly fine under, I wouldn't say heavy rain, because when it was heavy, I tried to hide it, but I would say like medium rain, drizzle, it should work just fine. I had no issues with it. Even after 3 weeks, it looks just fine, very clean inside. There was no mold, no water condensating inside. It has worked just fine. I don't know the details of how well it is sealed, but I would say you're pretty safe if you are using it with light rain, snow. I wouldn't go too much into sand, dust, and so on as I would with its other lens, but I think we are on the safe side. Images do look sharp enough to me, more or less on the level of the kit lens, not on the 16-55. But to be very honest with you, there were a couple of, not issues, and also not flaws, but things that are not just, perfect. For instance, the first thing that got my attention was the very extreme vignetting that you get when you are shooting at 2.8. It does get better, obviously, when you step down, to f5, 6, 8, and so on. And when you go to Lightroom, and I will be showing you here some samples, and you turn off the auto correction, you can see how severe the problem can be when there are straight lines and you're shooting, for example, at 80 millimeters. You will see the effect of that barrel distortion, and the vignetting is pretty bad. It's nothing that it bothers me because I don't care that much about the corners, but there were a few scenes where there was a lot of straight lines, like windows and paint on a train, where I could see very, very easily how heavy corrected it was. when it comes to focus and speed and accuracy, it's not bad, but it's also not great. I did realize some problems when the subject was quick, relatively quick. Like in this shot with the train, the focus point is not on the train. The focus point is over the train because the train is moving very fast. But it kind of confuses either the camera or the lens. Have not experienced something like that with the other Fuji lenses. And yeah, it wobbles, it hunts a little bit, and sometimes might be a bit annoying. And also, if you are into filming and you want to do some dolly zoom or something like that, you should know that it wobbles a lot when you zoom in and out. You lose instantaneously any focus point that you had before. And you have to be very, 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 very gentle. And even though you are gentle, it just loses it. So in summary, I really couldn't find many reasons not to buy this lens, not to buy this zoom over the Fuji one. And in many cases, I think it can substitute the 16 to 55 unless you really need the absolute highest quality image on your photos. To have this constant 2.8 aperture in such a small package, it's simply fantastic. I even changed my workflow, how I actually work with the camera. Usually when it gets dark, I would just swap the lens to 1.4, 1.2 or something like that. When I was in Japan, I was very confident using these 2.8 because I knew that later on in Lightroom, if I wanted to, I could get rid of noise very easily. And yeah, guess what? By the way, I never got rid of the noise. I loved it. But if you are shooting something else, like a wedding or something more sensitive, you should be fine by using the denoise tool that Lightroom had since a few months ago. And as usual, if you have any questions, just feel free to write me, to DM me. I'm always happy to answer and try to help in any way I can. Again, thank you. Hit the like button if you like, subscribe if you liked it, and I see you hopefully soon.